So you just started CrossFit and you walked into the gym yesterday and you noticed that everyone has a big gym bag full of all sorts of cool equipment and gear. And now you're asking yourself, what kind of gear do you need now that you just started CrossFit? Contrary to popular belief, the barrier to entry to joining a CrossFit class and the gear related to it is really low, if not really minimal. I know a lot of people show up with bags of gear, and believe me, I'm one of them. But when I first started CrossFit, I survived off of wearing Chucks, and that was it. That was the only thing I owned, wearing Chucks for like the first few months of my CrossFit career. So I'm gonna break it down into two separate groups. The first group is, hey, you probably need this gear. And the second group is, you don't have to have it, but maybe in the future if you want it, go out and buy it. So the first group, the gear you probably need when you first start CrossFit. And there are 4 items in that list I wanna go over. Number 1 is a jump rope. Now, some gyms actually have a jump rope available for you to use. They have like an affiliate package where they have a bunch of jump ropes available and you just choose your size. But sometimes if you're trying to learn double unders for the first time or learn single unders for the first time, you really depend and need a specific rope for that fits you perfectly. So number 1 is a jump rope. You're probably gonna need it. Number 2 is kind of a functional fitness shoe. From my perspective, I wear Nike Metcons, but you're gonna need some kind of functional fitness flat bottom shoe to help you learn how to squat and kind of feel out your squat. Number 3 is you're probably gonna need grips. You're gonna wanna protect your hands. I don't know what you've been doing before this, and so your hands probably aren't meant or probably built for grabbing onto a bar and swinging around or picking up a deadlift bar. So you might get a lot of tears in your hands. So grips is really important to protect your hands. Number 4 is tape. You're gonna wanna learn early on how to thumb wrap or hook grip a bar, and so therefore tape's gonna be really important to protect your thumbs. The second list we're gonna go over is the items that you don't necessarily need, and honestly, from my perspective, sometimes CrossFitters depend on these too much, and because they depend on them so much, then they can't do certain movements without them. So this is the list that if you have the extra funds, yay, maybe purchase them, but I'd probably stay away from them in the beginning. And so that list starts off with lifters. Olympic lifters are very important, but sometimes they can be used as a crutch to be like, oh, I can't squat without my lifters. And if you find yourself saying that, then I would probably stay away from them in the beginning. Number 1 is shoes, Olympic lifters. Number 2 is a belt. Sometimes when you first start CrossFit, it's actually important to learn how to brace, how to brace correctly. And sometimes when you buy a belt and use a belt from day one for something that probably doesn't even need a belt, you tend to teach your body not how to brace and you depend upon the belt. And that's not really a good thing. Next up is straps. Straps are great to use when you don't want to ruin your hands or depend on your grip so much when you're doing a lot of pulling movements. It's a great tool to have, but not necessarily a necessity. Number 4 is sleeves, knee sleeves. Now, knee sleeves are great if you have knee issues, but sometimes if you have knee issues, maybe you should look into fixing those issues before putting a sleeve on it and kind of bandaging it, putting a Band-Aid around it, covering it up. Instead, maybe look at why you need knee sleeves. Maybe you need some rehab. Maybe you need to learn how to activate your glutes and that kind of thing. The final item is wrist wraps. Now, if you have really weak wrists, wrist wraps are really good to use if you want to protect them. But at the same time, sometimes people use them as a crutch and use them all the time. And I think their wrists learn to depend on them. And instead of having their wrists grow strong and be capable to move certain weights or take certain loads, instead their wrists depend on that wrap to be there for stability. So guys, that's my list of items. If you just started CrossFit and you're asking yourself, what kind of gear do I need now that I started? That's my list for you. Items you for sure probably do need, and then items that would be nice to have but don't depend on them. So hope you guys appreciate that. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys later. See ya.